Indian Diaspora. 25 million people spread over 110 countries. This is the second largest diaspora in the world. Wearing different nationalities, speaking different languages, what unites them are their ties to India. Ties that have always drawn them back, seeking insights into who they are and the land they left behind.
The urge to know oneself, to discover oneself. Who am I? Where do I come from? Who are my parents? Because in the past, there was a blank. It was a complete blank on us. We didn't know about it.
Indianness is something, it's ingrained in us whether we are recently left India or generations ago, because it's something unique, it's a phenomenon, it's something that we carry with us every day in our lives, and it keeps us sustained throughout.
They are citizens of Mauritius, they are citizens of Trinidad or Guyana or Suriname or anywhere, but the link with India will remain.
I feel it very important for us as young Indians to come back to India and get our roots where we belong.
The word root has to be spelt in two different ways. One is R-O-O-T, this is my root. The other is root, R-O-U-T-E, which is the route by which I left my roots to go somewhere else. And identity is the story as much about the roots as about the route that I have taken.
The stories of their forefathers' land, passed down by parents and grandparents, fascinated them, haunted them with recurring frequency and increasing intensity. People left the shores of India with the hope of a brighter future, a better life. Some left as traders, thinking they would come back. Others left as laborers, knowing they'd left behind home and hearth, hoping only to one day bring their families with them. And the most recent migrants went knowing that India was only a day away. Yet, what united all these different migrants through time and space was their indomitable courage to conquer new frontiers, to accept new cultures, to flower once again in lands far from home.
Migration from India to different parts of the Indian diaspora, the causes are many. There are personal causes, there are economic causes, there are social causes.
Whatever the causes of migration, the difficulties Indians faced were real. Everyone felt the pangs of loneliness, the stigma of being an outsider. But many had no option but to strive to survive in the face of outright hostility and hardship.
The Indians who migrated, they were tied by conditions of work. They were not free. If they were born in a village, they could not even migrate to another village. They were prisoners in their own village, in their own camp. And those who moved from one village to another village were caught and were put into vagrant depot. They were considered as vagrants. You can imagine they had no freedom of movement. But with the independence movement, people became free.
With this freedom came the right to practice one's culture, to celebrate being Indian. What was once carried out in the confines of the home came out into the street. As Indians began to increase in confidence, they started to share their culture, carrying on in the wake of the once mighty Chola traders who took the Ramayana to the Far East. And so, Bharatnatyam got a Caribbean flair, Bollywood gained Chinese flavor, and Indian food was adopted everywhere.
If you have grown up in a country, if you speak its language, love its food, love its music, love its culture, then you are living the country. You are not only living in the country, but you are living it. And wherever you go, it speaks through you. My India speaks through me.
What spoke to amateur genealogist Shamsuddin, who hails from the jewel-flecked, sun-soaked isles of Trinidad and Tobago, was the history of his people. As he wandered these ancient quarantine depots that once served as a stopping point for indentured laborers, he was consumed by the need to know where they came from and to find if, despite the distance, there was still family left behind.
I help people to trace their families, back to India, back to Africa, different places in the world. There's a deep emotional attachment to tracing roots. A lot of people tell me that they just want to know that village from which they came. And more specifically, if they could get to know where their ancestor walked and if there are relatives there.
As Shamsuddin and some of his successful clients share with us the documents and memorabilia that help them trace their family, the care with which they handle these artifacts of their history speaks of the reverence in which they hold India and their newfound family.
Tears come to our eyes when we were accepted and embraced by the families. And sometimes I feel I belong there. I would like to go back to India and spend a few years or so with the balance of my life.
When Shamsuddin came on the scene and he started research, it gladdened my heart. So when he found the route, it was really, it was like pushing an open door.
Such is the attraction of India, which is known to be emotive, especially for those who carry her in their DNA. Like swallows returning home, simply stepping onto ancestral soil might be enough for some. A short visit for others, but for a few, only a deep engagement with India will satisfy their soul.
My name is Dennis Ramdahin, and I was born in Trinidad, West Indies, and I've been living in Calcutta now for the last 2 years.
After being brought up in Trinidad, Dennis's job got him back to the land of his ancestors. Was it coincidence, destiny, or a deep-rooted desire to connect with one's roots? The journey turned out to have a lot in store for him. From the stories his father told, Dennis knew he hailed from Balia, a small town in Bihar. Driven by his passion to know his ancestors, Dennis embarks on a journey that might reconnect him with his family. With mixed emotions, Dennis is unsure where this journey will lead. Will he finally know his ancestors? Or will they still keep their secrets? Dennis's search doesn't lead him to anyone he can identify as blood family. What Balia does give to Dennis, though, is a sense of belonging and a new mission. Realizing that tracing his roots didn't just mean finding family, Dennis decided to put down roots in Balia and create the family he craved.
I'm also running an NGO in India, the Vihar Foundation. The foundation is basically focused on designing a macroeconomic poverty alleviation scheme for this general Bihar Uttar Pradesh region.
Spending time with the people of Balia while juggling his job in Kolkata, Dennis's acceptance of India is very much a two-way street. For India has welcomed him with outstretched arms.
रामदीन जी तो बहुत सारी मदद इस क्षेत्र के लिए करते हैं।
किसी गरीब को खाना नहीं मिलता है तो खाना दे देते हैं, स्कूल चलाते हैं, डॉक्टरी चलाते हैं।
सब काम इलाज मिला सब करवाता है। वो बहुत अच्छा आदमी है। जब से आ जाता है तब लोग हम जानता है कि हमारा लड़का आ गया।
Dennis may not have been able to trace his roots, but through his search, he has found his family. Another search for family that encompassed more than just a village is author and scholar Brij Vilas Lal's labor of love. For him, tracing his roots has meant researching the origins of the entire Indian diaspora. Whenever they left, wherever they roamed, Brij Lal has chronicled them all in his definitive encyclopedia of the Indian diaspora. And having told the story of many, it's time for his search for the tale of one. A journey across oceans, and now another one. Despite visiting India several times for work, this time it's personal. This time the emotions are overwhelming. This time he has a chance to find home. Wanting to get some answers to his unresolved search, Brij heads to the district collector's office, hoping he'll be guided to his goal. But to find, he must seek. And so he sets out, drawing everyone into his quest. And that becomes the first little route that binds Brij to India. As he visits place after place, seeking directions, overcoming one roadblock, then the next, Brij Vilas can't help but think of the person who inspired his search.
I remember Mum occasionally saying that she would have liked to have visited his place of origin, but she died young as well. So this, in a sense, is a kind of a pilgrimage to complete the journey that my grandfather began.
On arriving at his destination, Brij Vilas immediately strikes a connection with the locals in his village and is requested to leave a mark of his homecoming, a promise to keep returning.
They took me to this place called Bandar Chua, the well after which the village was named. They insisted that I leave behind a permanent sign of my visit, and the best thing we could do was to plant a mango tree, and somebody there, agreed to take care of it, to nurture it, and they all expressed the hope that I will return one day.
Like Brij Vilas Lal, there are many who are still looking to write their own chapter in their engagement with India, their reconnection with family, their return to their roots.
I'm just anxious to know my great-grandfather's father's name at least. I don't know. So this type of anxiety for the human beings, that is in their heart of heart. Everybody will be interested in knowing who their forefathers, and that is an inherent interest for any human being.
I was very curious about where my ancestors came from for a long time. So it's always a fascination to come back and learn more. There's never an end to learning about India.
People come to India for different reasons. Some of them come to do pilgrimages. I came in search of my great-grandparent.
Even if you have left 150 years ago, when you go back to the place where you think you are originated from, you feel so sentimental. It's so such a happiness for one to be connected back with the ancestral land or motherland.
As the circle of time changes, once separated communities can come close together, recognizing their need to connect, give back, and forge new bonds between India and their countries. The government has set up one of the world's only ministries dedicated to the diaspora, the Ministry of Overseas Indian Affairs. One of their biggest events is the annual Pravasi Bharati Devas, or PBD, which lays out the red carpet to the diaspora coming home. The overwhelming demand to connect to their roots has much to do with India itself. The past 2 decades of stratospheric growth means that India is now the land of opportunity. And so the diaspora returns to study and work. Amongst them is Varshiappa, who's come to Pune to learn Marathi. Her coming has made it easier for her parents to visit too. And once they're here, how can they resist trying to find a little more about where they came from?
So the first time I come to India to accompany my daughter for her higher studies in Pune. The time I put my foot on the land of India, I feel a vibration in my body. So at this moment, I click on my mind that I must find my family, my ancestors who live in India here.
Krishna Rao Appa's pursuit to discover his roots takes him to the very same place from where his ancestors left the country, the gateway of India.
It's long ago that my parents, my forefathers left India to the gateway of India. So today, that I am visiting the gateway of India, I am feeling really very proud and sad at the same time, because my forefathers left India, such a beautiful country, to came to Mauritius for laboring.
Through the stories he's heard from his parents, Appa's aware that his ancestors came from a village somewhere near Kolhapur. So that's where the search begins.
So now approaching to Kolhapur, land of my ancestors, I am feeling really very excited now.
After arriving at Kolhapur, an overwhelmed Appa starts his day by seeking blessings at the famous Mahalakshmi Temple. Having made an offering to the goddess, he heads to the district collector's office to streamline his search. The district collector warmly welcomes Appa and his family. After going through the records, the collector points out Appa's village, Tirpan, and informs its Gram Panchayat of their arrival. At the village, Appa is warmly welcomed. The entire village comes together for the return of the prodigal son. Touched and overwhelmed, Appa is speechless, blown away by the love he receives, the connection he experiences. He has truly come home. But the spontaneous isn't enough. India is incomplete without experiencing the ceremonial, and so the Gram Panchayat commemorates their visit with the traditional feta. Filled with gratitude and unbound joy, Appa is all set to dig deeper. Having found his village, he's anxious to find out if he still has family here. He heads straight to meet the Helvi, a traditional record keeper who gets to work immediately, scrutinizing and analyzing family tree after family tree to figure out where Appa's piece of the puzzle fits. These ramshackle books contain records preserved over the centuries. In this digital age, the Helvi's records might seem archaic, but a flick of the pages, a deeper analysis of the notes, and Appa's family's name is finally revealed. And yes, the Helvi is happy to tell him he has relatives here in India.
हे ज्या वंशावळीमध्ये काढून बघितलं म्हणजे पाचव्या पिढीला कुणाच्या घरामध्ये बसते जनकू पाटलाच्या बुडक्यामधलं आता रनिंग पाचवं पिढी त्यांचं चालू आहे म्हणजे हे बसू शकते म्हणून आम्ही ह्या राघव आप्पाचं नाव ह्याच्यावरनंच आहे ह्याच्या बुडक्यातलंच आहे म्हणून आम्ही राघव आप्पा हे आप्पा वंशाजातलं हेतण्याचं गेल्यात ह्या वंशातलंच आहे म्हणून आम्ही आमच्या आधारीवरनं त्यांना सांगू शकलो.
The final journey. On the other side are strangers connected by blood. Will they welcome him? Or are they uninterested in this son of Mauritius? After all, they weren't the ones who left. Their roots remain connected to the soil which gave birth to them. Appa is filled with questions, unsure he'd like the answers. Appa's doubts, his fears are put to rest. Warmly welcomed, the sense of acceptance is immediate and palpable. Overwhelmed by emotions, is this the end of Appa's search or a new beginning? The expansion of his family to envelop people who are strangers no more.
After having found my relatives in India here, more precisely in Kolhapur, in the village of Tirpan, and spending some good moments with them, today I am now leaving for Mauritius. I am very, very sad to leave them here, but unfortunately I have to go. I have spent some good moments with them, but this is not the last visit to India. I will keep on coming to visit my relatives here who is in the village of Tirpan. So I am bringing along with me some soil from this village to Mauritius, especially to the place where I live. So I will keep this soil in my yard itself so that there will be a good connection between me and the village of Tirpan.
No matter the routes the search for roots have taken, there is little doubt that each journey is a profound search into the self, into the deep-seated bond that still connects to the idea of India that's taken root within. There are countless reasons for leaving and just as many for returning. But in the end, only one reason matters: the deep-seated bond that connects them to this culture, to the idea of India that's taken root within.
When the Indians come back to India, they find every time a new experience.
My roots are in India. No matter how long I will live abroad, but my roots will be calling me, always.
I'm absolutely convinced that the search for roots will increase as time goes on.